Alright guys, so 70, well, isn't an essay. 82, 85, 12A transmission, right? 5-speed. We're going to put a Miata center chunk in it for the close ratio box. I gave it a quick little power wash. That wasn't very good. But we're going to start with these 4 bolts. There's 4 bolts here for the cover. You're going to have to pull the cover off. One 10 millimeter. These are 10 millimeter. These are 12 millimeter. Then once we get it, I'm going to take off brackets, transmission mount, just anything that doesn't need to be on the tail housing or the bell housing. You're going to reuse your tail and bell. We're just replacing the center chunk that holds the gear set. And so I'll get this knocked off, got these out. This will just slide now. Tap it with a soft mallet, it should come right off. The tube will either come or stay, doesn't matter, it'll come out later. Just for cleaning purposes, and like I said, we'll take all this off once this is off, and we'll get back to you. So, get all your extra bits off. Extra bits are all off. I have all my bolts loosened. Organize them however you do your organization. I just leave them in the case, and even if they come out, it's not hard. Because if you look, when you put all your bolts back in and they just sit, they should all be level. It doesn't matter. This is on motors, transmissions. If you have the bolts in the right spot, they're all to the same height. Almost guaranteed. The only difference you'll get, which this transmission does not have, if the boss is raised, that bolt can be different. But if you take the bolt that's supposed to be in that and put it in a different spot, it will be way too high. So if they're all relatively in the same plane, run it. It's going to be right. Very seldom are they different threads or anything. I just leave them in. If they fall out, they fall out. I pick them up, and who cares where they go? They go back eventually. So then, this is still on. Pretty sure you gotta pop the whole tail off, and then that, or maybe this transmission has issues, and it's why I just have it laying around. Don't remember, but we're gonna rip this one apart and use the parts, because they're the good parts. Soft, dead blow. Don't hit things with claw hammers. Tap it off once you get them all loose, should pop off. We don't even take the extension shifter housing off, that can stay. So disregard all of that information, because it's not going to matter. The Miata box is identical. It'll all just go back together. Just on assembly, we have to make sure we get the actual arm and finger back into these. That's the only thing, not rocket science. Inspect your gear. Should have, I guess, a little play. Who knows? Snap ring. There's a snap ring up here. This is all we're doing on this side for right now. So now we'll clean up all of our nasty metallic oil. So maybe it's a good thing it's probably a broke one. Might be why it's just sitting on the side, and it's a perfect donor. But yeah, we'll just get it cleaned up. And it goes without saying, drain your transmission first before you do this, because as soon as you go to flip this over, you're going to be in for a world. And there's oil everywhere. Never fun. I remembered why this transmission's junk. It had an alignment issue, and I don't know. It started machining this part of bearing retainer, as I believe this part. But it's the next to come off. 12 millimeter bolts all around. Good thing I have extra transmissions. I'll just go yank another one off a different one. Fork, release bearing, etc. all obviously needs to come out. Kind of pressure washed, but we'll take these bolts out. I do not believe the ball stud needs to come out. It should just thread into the bearing retainer housing. I'll zip these out, and then we'll go on to the next step. Yeah, this one had issues. There's metal chunks, like sharp metal chunks. It looks like it is from this thrust washer. would be my guess. Still reads Koyo on it. Horrible camera, but or shim. I'm gonna say this shim had a bit of a come apart. Yeah. So there's a shim. Probably important. Let's not lose that. When I go to pull the other one apart, I'll see if the shim's there. And I'm gonna have to look for a spec on that because I'm gonna say it has a linear tolerance for that play. Seals, I am not replacing any seals. I'm lucky enough that, I wouldn't say lucky, I just went and bought, that's just a normal piece of paper. I have sheets of gasket material. I'm just going to copy it, make my own. I'm not buying a gasket set. I'm not buying synchros for this gear set. The gear set I bought has 100,000 miles on it. I saw the car it came out of, grandpa driven, perfect, immaculate condition. The guy I bought the transmission from is suspension swapping the Miata onto an old Triumph TR4 frame. So he's getting rid of all the Miata parts. So after this, I'll show you the next step. So I am just winging it, but process of elimination, threaded bolt side. This is a threaded side for the tail for all of that. So this should all be loose. You have a snap ring here and a snap ring here. Take your favorite or most hated snap ring pliers, and we're gonna, these are backwards, we're gonna flip them, pull these snap rings off, save them. They're probably different sizes. They might be different sizes, they may not. You'll know when you go to put it back together, but I'll keep track of these and let you guys know if there is a difference before. So yeah, I'll get these taken out. I do see there is a big retainer ring, but it is not a snap ring. It is, but it's not. We'll pop that one. We'll take these two out, see if we can get it apart. If not, we'll take the big guy out because I have a feeling that the bearing stays on the input shaft. That I do know. So that might be an issue. That might have to come off. Matter of fact, I guarantee that has to come off. So yeah, we'll take that snap ring off. We'll take the big one off. We'll leave this one on because this bearing stays a part of the input shaft. So I'll get those taken out, put it in my little box of bolts and everything. And hopefully we can separate these chunks apart. Alright guys, so your perimeter bolts, you got the tail shaft off, tail shaft. Bell housing. To get the bell housing off, hopefully you're smarter than people like me and you would watch the whole video and then start doing it and watch the video, maybe not, I don't know. This snap ring does not need to come off. The big one that goes on the outside of this bearing, that needs to come off. This guy. That one needs to come off. Once that's off and you have your bolts out, give it a wiggle, give it some taps, love taps. It'll start separating here. Don't worry about it when this piece separates. This is all whatever you're going to do with it. Maybe be worried about it. But if you're going to use the gear set, all of this is junk. Do what you want with it. Because all of this out of the Miata trans is just getting bolted to those parts. I'm not rebuilding it. Well, maybe. I haven't taken the Miata one apart yet. I'll look at the synchros, etc., etc. If it's too excessive, doubt it. I might order a set, but this is going in my first gen autocross car. It's gonna live a hard life. I'd like it not to grind. Maybe I'll do second, third, or first, second synchros. The rest are gonna be whatever. It doesn't get driven on the highway. It gets trailered everywhere. I rarely drive it on the road anymore. But yeah, these are the pieces we are after. Clean them up, get them how you want them. Next, we're going to be pulling the Miata trans apart the exact same way. So we're taking the perimeter bolts out. we are going to take the bearing retainer off the front to get to the big snap ring, and then it all just comes apart. It's self-explanatory at this point. But like I said, all this for me is going away. I don't care. It's whatever. So yeah, I'll come back and with hopefully some clean parts and a Miata Trans center chunk gear set, however you want to call it. We don't even need this. This is as far as we need to pull this apart. All of this from the Miata is the exact same as this. It just has the different ratios. Alright guys, so this is the Miata Trans gear set now. I've already swapped this over to make sure that it was going to work. I have a 477 rear ratio, so my speedo's wrong anyway. But I'm going to put this in because we're using the RX-7 tail housing extension. I don't want to fiddle with the gear in there or anything. I'll just put that one back on so it meshes. It's what it is. I don't know if you can use the Miata one, etc. Probably. You probably have to change the speed sensor from the Miata tail housing into your RX-7 one. I don't care. Somebody will figure that out. So to get to this point, same exact process. This piece, that piece, it just comes off at this point. Well, comes off. So you have to take these guys out, 3 roll pins, knock them out, take those off, then that whole aluminum chunk comes off. Next, well, I want to say next. Yeah, so basically now we're just down to the gear set. Now it's pulling it all apart so we can get this guy out, get it machined, and then reassemble it all back together exactly as it comes apart. Like, this synchro has to go here, that synchro goes there, etc., etc. Put it back, take pictures. I'll clean my bench off so I have all the real estate to line every gear, everything out exact. Get my machine work done, get it back, reassemble, etc., etc., etc. So next video will probably be the entire gear set pulled into a million pieces. If I find any hints, tricks, whatnot, I'll try to add them in as we go. Alright guys, so next little bit now we're going to take all the actual shift forks, shift levers out. What I found is you take the middle, so it would be your third, fourth gear. Fourth is direct drive 1-to-1, so fourth, third, second, first, fifth reverse is back here. So take your fourth, third out the front. You have to take these out. There's a bolt, there's springs, and a ball bearing in every one of these. The third one, looking in the wrong spot, third one, spring, ball bearing in every one of them. So be prepared. They're not under crazy tension. I just took the bolt out and pulled the spring and then knocked the ball bearings out. Then you're going to take your second. This has the third, fourth, all the way out. Then you can take your first, second gear one out. Because there is, you guys see the hole, but there's a slide in there that will lock it in. That the third, fourth has to be out, and then that pin can drop so you can actually get this one out. Then you're going to do your fifth reverse, and so roll pins, knock all the roll pins out, put them in whatever. Like I said, I'm not scared. I can put things back together from piles and boxes of parts. Not my first rodeo. Take this out. Now, this is a key thing. When you go to take this out, I got lucky and had my hand over this already, but there's a spring in there that has a ball bearing in it already as well, and it came shooting out. Luckily, I caught it. Be prepared for that ball bearing. That spring will ejectocito cuz it straight out of that. So be prepared for that. Now, once we have that, we can take our fork off. Fork's off. Now we're getting into it. Now we're getting into the sauce. So we're going to take the gear back off, which you probably already have off. Maybe you don't. We're going to take this off, snap ring, pull the bearing, and then we're going to start pulling everything off the back side. Well, we can't. We're also going to take the nut, pull the gear, your fifth gear off. Press the bearing off, bearing splitter. However, if you're replacing bearings, try not to fuck it up. Then we'll just start working everything off until we can get down to your reverse gear, and then we'll figure out idler, blah, 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 blah. I'll make the video, put it in. This is just a bunch of videos put together, kind of hodgepodge style, whatever. So, like I said earlier, hopefully you watch the whole thing before you go at it. Skip around. I'll do my best when I go to edit all this and be like, this part's this, etc., etc. But yeah, now we're going to start pulling everything off the output shaft, get the big nut off, have my socket and my impact, my half-inch impact's dead, so that's cool. Have to get that charging, then we'll zip all that off, pull bearings, etc. Then we'll get down to this plate. Now in my research, when we go to put these bolts back in, we're going to want to Loctite them in, because I've heard of these backing out, and we all know what happens when a foreign piece of metal gets in some gears. The gears don't care until they're round because of that. That will get sucked up in. So that was a common thing I heard. Loctite these bolts back in. I'll cover that. We'll get to that. Alright guys, so we're going to start pulling everything off. You got your gear, 2 circlip gear, circlip, get it off. Then we're looking down here. Don't worry. Yeah. Kind of in this order, gear, blah, 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 circlips. When you get down to here, this is where it gets interesting and fun, because this bearing needs to come off. Then you can start pulling out. You can see on the counter shaft, all those are off. But now, this is a 41 millimeter socket. That's a big problem. So, what we're going to have to do, you need a socket 41 millimeter that is, I don't know, 18 inches long. 18 will do. Odds are you're gonna have to make one. So, shit. I'm gonna go to the local fucking auto parts store, buy me a socket, and then I'm gonna cut the socket in half. I have welders, and I will just get a piece of pipe, roughly the same size as my socket. This is all it's gonna be for. But we are going to want a big socket for this because this is torqued and we'll have to torque it back on. So yeah, you can use a chisel or however your heart desires to get that off. But it is torqued. I would like that torque back on. So I'm going to build a socket. I'm going to get it off. Pretty much once we get here, things just start coming apart. Like we'll be to the input shaft in no time. Get the nut off, then this whole thing comes out. We'll fiddle around with stuff down here. It all falls apart. But once we can get some movement in this and the counter shaft, we can get the input shaft out, which is all we're trying to do. But unfortunately, you're tearing it all down to get to this. Sucks, but it is what it is. Not for the faint of heart kind of job here, but it's doable in a garage. So, if you got the will, there's a way. Yeah, I'll make the socket, get all of it off. If there's any more important bits, I'll add them in. So this is going to be the fun part for everybody. Input shaft set up on your overkill lathe, but now we go to Mazda Tricks. We will find all the measurements. So we're going to start machining an input shaft to RX-7 spec. Then, yeah, I'll get back to you when that's all done. Alright guys, so this video is going to be a little mixed together now. But as you can see, I have my transmission back together. Everything goes smooth. Been machined. Yeah. When you get to this point, you'll understand why I go machined, but machined. So, yeah, basically just follow the disassembly. Horrible video, I know. I'll get used to this. I'll figure out how to make good videos. I painted mine, matches my car. My car's white, green. I'm already here, and I was taught very young that if you do anything like this, you paint it. Because then, why not? Like, you're already there. Why not just paint it? So, this one matches. RX-7 bell housing, Miata RX-7 tail with the Miata shifter on it. It does bolt on in the same locations, but I believe, oh yeah, it was the rear locating dowel. There's a dowel in here. You might be able to see it right there. There's two dowels. That dowel in the rear has to come out, and then this sits on it. And for my measurement, this shifter turret is a 1/2 inch forward than the RX-7 shifter turret. So I'm not concerned. It's not going to make that big of a difference in the car. But so talking about the input shaft and it being machined. Talking about the input shaft being machined, put it on a lathe. It chewed up a bunch of bits. I'm not a machinist. My buddy, well, he tried. We'll give him that. He tried, ate up a bit. So I called around. I live in the middle of nowhere, Idaho, pretty much. There was one machinist. He was on his way to the other side of the state. So I did what I do best, and I engineered. I grabbed a grinder, put the input shaft, basically just left it in a bell housing but upside down, spun it, and just used a grinder to machine it. And it came out pretty much right on the money, measurement wise. It's yet to go in the car. That doesn't have a flywheel on it, or really a rotating assembly, or I would mock it up on that. The car is right there. Door shut, but it's right there. That's a story. There's something else right there now. But that's a story for another time. Yeah, so we'll get this slammed in the car. Probably not this video. This is just going to be the teardown-ish, rebuild-ish video. Yeah, I'll get it in the car eventually.